Well, hello again, friends, and thank you for being with us. It's Bill Spady, and I'm here one more time to be conversing with my very close friend and colleague and mentor, Tomei Schnitsius. Tomei, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
Yeah, glad you're back, and we're certainly anticipating more wonderful wisdom from you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've noticed that in some of our past discussions, you have mentioned um, higher beings. Um, you have mentioned your group. We've used the term masters and ascended masters and other esoteric kinds of things that people may not be familiar with at all. And I wondered if you could give better clarity to that, because in a sense, all of them are spirit partners to us.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
therefore, I think everybody really has what they think of or may think of as guides or spirit guides or something of that nature.
Hmm.
Um, so I think we would gain enormously if we had your perspective on that.
That's a big subject for sure, and can be really hard to, let's say, be with. Be with is kind of the phrase when um, we come from, say, a training or the way we've been programmed to believe who we are by the uh, the life strategies or the programs we've talked about in past sessions. Um, when you're considered unworthy, or when you're considered, let's call it even a sinner, or when you've been told as many times as we can remember that we're not good enough, or that we have a long way to go, and all that sort of thing, to please others and to please society and please whatever is outside of us. We start talking about there's other beings out there that can help us. Probably the first thing that happens to most people is they feel, well, I'm not worthy of that. I can't do that. I'm different. There's only certain people in this world that can do that. Um, and I wish I could, but I know I can't. Um, and come up with whatever phrases you want, but there is this sense of um, that I'm not good enough to have that kind of connection.
That's
And
exactly what happened to me.
yeah, okay,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah. Bravo.
Um, And so there's a lot of work to be done to dissolve that understanding, that feeling. And it gets back to, we talked about programs, we talked about the journey within, we've talked about how to be with those programs, how to dissolve them as best we can, our egos, how to open ourselves up to the truth of who we are, so on and so forth. Um, and that's the place where we release ourselves from just being five senses in this dualistic world. Because if we can't see it, then it's not real. If we can't hear it, it's not real. If we can't taste it, if it's not real. If we can't smell it, it's not real. And for sure, if I can't touch it, it's not real.
Yeah.
And so many people really have been ingrained with that belief system. Um, and to the point where they won't listen to anything else. For instance, they have a box that says there's only the five senses, and all this, um, feeling and sensing and allowing yourself to go to another dimension and all, like, that's all just woo woo stuff. That the only thing that exists is just our dualistic nature. Um, there's something more to it, and I would even suggest, if anybody were to really go into their religions in some respect, and all of them have this, where certain individuals have mastered themselves to such degree that there is a phrase that can be used of ascension. People kind of know what that is, but that they have ascended into a different place, they've become a master, so now they leave this place and they go somewhere else. And nobody ever wants to say to themselves that I can put myself on that pedestal and say I've mastered myself, and so then I'm allowed to go somewhere else.
Exactly so.
Yeah, and so that makes it very difficult then to talk about this subject because most people don't want to hear it. They don't want to know actually that they have this capability within themselves. It's too scary. Um, where are we going, and what kind of sensing you're talking about, and how can I trust that? How do I know it's real? How do I know I'm not just making it up? And so to release yourself of some of these belief structures is the first step. Um, if if your mind is so controlling in your journey, it's going to be very difficult to open yourself up to the possibilities even that these things exist. There is, as we've talked also in past podcasts, about energy, that everything's energy, everything's vibration, everything is color or wave or frequency. And we are even energetic beings. So now that science actually has come out and proven that we're energetic beings, they've showed us that that's what we are, that we're made up of, say, atoms and electrons and so on, and that our our ability to see ourselves in that is limited because of our sight and in a third dimensional sense. But if we use a microscope or some kind of high power microscope, you could look at a piece of your skin and you could see that it's amazing how much is actually in just that one piece of skin. How many cells are waiting there? How many electrons are waiting there? So on and so forth. So um, just because we can't see it with our eyes doesn't mean it's not there. So I will use that as a way to introduce you to another realm. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. The only way we can feel it or see it, if you want to say see it, is to feel it. And feeling is not just touching something. Feeling is an inner sense. It's kind of that intuitive feel you have when just before an accident, you know something's about to happen and boom, it happens. Intuition is about, should I really turn left here or go right? And the intuition is instantaneous right away. Should I go on this trip or should I not? Should I buy this thing? Should I not? Should I get in this relationship or should I not? Should I get this job? Should I buy this car? There's so many things that you could look at intuitively within yourself if you were to take the time to do it and say, yeah, my gut told me to do this and I did not. And it didn't turn out so well. How many times has that happened to most of us? And I would say in the beginning, before you even start investigating what we're talking about today, it's probably happened to you a lot. You've noticed that you were pulled maybe in one direction as soon as the choice was being made, but your mind said, oh, no, we got to stay in it this way. And you go the mind's way and it ends up not being so great. And so we want to be able to trust our intuition and sense for ourselves what we're hearing, which isn't the ears that are hearing. You're hearing a voice, but there's no sound. It's almost like a voice in your head. Is that your mind? No, not usually, because it's almost like it's something else talking to me, which is kind of weird. A feeling in your body, a tenseness, an energetic feeling. Maybe you get, the hair on your back starts coming up. You feel this twinge. Sometimes we all have that sensation where we have goosebumps all over our body and we're not quite sure what's going on, but we're seeing something and it's giving us goosebumps because we're seeing something that's about to happen, but we just don't know it. But the goosebumps are an indication for us that something is about to happen. So there's lots of indications of sensing, you might say, in this next realm. But again, I'm going to go into another aspect of this, which might help people trust this a little bit more. And it's how many of you out there have lost a loved one and they seem to show up in the next 3 days somehow. You hear a voice, or you see a picture, or some picture falls off a wall, or all of a sudden something shows up in the mail reminding you of this loved one that's left. There could be any number of things that happen where you might see a cardinal that just landed on a branch, and that's that your mother used to love cardinals. I mean, there's all these things, and the cardinal is showing up in the middle of winter. There's no way that's going to happen, right? But for some reason it does. They're still talking to you from the other side, and many of you have had these moments, and you push them away and say, well, that was just kind of crazy, but I'll just move on. And if you tell somebody, you don't want to tell somebody because you think they're going to think you're crazy, and so you keep it within yourself and then just move on with life. Somebody's on the other side of the veil trying to contact you. I don't know, maybe telling you they're okay, or maybe they made it, they won't let you know they made it. They can have a conversation with you because just because they're not in a 3D dimensional body, they're still in an energetic body. They're still a soul. They're still traveling somewhere. They're still experiencing things just in a different realm. They're just not here, but they can be here because if they're in a higher realm, they can come back here for a short time every once in a while to be with you. So don't be surprised if that might happen. But all I'm presenting to you is most of you I know out there have had that, which means you've had a spirit guide. You've experienced a spirit guide. You've experienced an energetic person, if you want to call it that, on the other side of the veil that's trying to contact you. And you push it away because it's not third dimensional.
Are all of the beings that we might encounter in the way that you've just talked about it, they've kind of just appeared. Are they all guides, or are they simply people or who we've known, presumably, trying to communicate something back to us about their presence?
If they're trying to communicate with you, I'm going to suggest, in fact, right now, I'm getting a hit from a friend that passed away not too long ago, 4 years ago, and he's right there answering the question and saying, once you cross over, you're all guides in some capacity.
Uh-huh.
And so they're not trying to contact us there's no arrogance there. There's no looking at everybody's a master and all that kind of stuff. That's all our stuff. That's all our way of defining all these things. There just is a presence. There just is energy, and everybody has their own essence, if you will, of color and vibration and so on. And if you wish to contact them, all you need to do is ask, but then be open to what comes.
Well, I get the message, and I'm still sort of in inquiry process with you here. You still have talked about ascended masters. You've made reference to Saint Germain and other ones, etc.
Sure.
They're clearly at some vibrational level, at some octave of existence, different from the friend you just acknowledged, who I'm happy to know who that is and greet him. But it's different.
Yeah, and the difference, I'm not going to say the difference is the octave or the dimension they're at, because there's an infinite amount of dimensions. Infinite. Just goes on and on. So to be able to understand that a solar being decides for itself at the different dimensions that they're at, of what they have to be in that dimensional frequency for a time being if they need to grow before they go into the next dimension. Because everything has a sense of density going down, if you will. And so somebody in a fifth dimension, the density there is lower than the sixth. So to be able to get to the sixth, you wouldn't just pop in because it would destroy you. You have to take time to experience, say, some sixth dimensional frequencies in whatever way that is to prepare you to move on to the next dimension. So there's this kind of work you might say that you're doing, but it's not work, but you're just experiencing things in certain levels so that you can go into the next dimension up. And so if you can imagine the density we have on the earth, for me to be able to move into the next dimension up, I have to release all the density in my body, which we have talked about, which was, dying into yourself of all the ego and judgments and dualistic natures of your cellular structure and your bodily structure, and to die into yourself, which means you die into the body that you think you are, and you start welcoming in new experiences of higher frequencies to prepare you when you are going to finally cross over to be able to do so. Otherwise, your soul can't handle it. It's too much. And so there is that. It's not that you're not good enough or anything like that. It's just actually a beautiful, loving act to make sure that nothing is harmful to you as you continue to move up in a higher density than a lower density. So
is it equivalent of saying that if you're an athlete, you train your muscles and your body and your physiological system to handle more and more and more over time, such that eventually over time, certain things feel routine,
correct,
which earlier you couldn't do at all, okay?
right,
Because you hadn't prepared the system for that experience.
right,
So this is a question, the more we open to higher things and feel vibration and have these experiences, the more we're preparing ourselves, we're laying a different level of ground level for
right,
being able to go even higher than that.
correct. And to use the same example that you just gave, so if you go on TV and you watch any sport, let's just say football, because it seems to be a real popular thing right now. If you watch any of these athletes and you see some of the things they do, to us, they're almost impossible because we can't imagine, having that kind of talent. Well, that kind of talent isn't necessarily the only thing that's there. We don't see the amount of work they've put into having that talent.
Yeah.
And if you interview them, they sometimes are a little bit squeamish about answering some of these questions, like, how have you become so good? And they're a little bit shy, kind of like, well, what do you mean? It's normal for them to be doing what they're doing because it has become the norm. It has become routine. And yeah, there's happiness of winning the game, for instance, or making the catch and all that sort of thing. But yet the ability to make the moves, to be able to function at a high level, to make the cuts, to get downfield or make the tackle or whatever it might be, has taken years and years of training that has finally come to the point where they can be a professional as opposed to just an amateur.
In many of those interviews, they say, oh, the game is all, whether it's the game or the activity, as in ice skating, for example. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all mental.
Yeah.
It's 100% mental. So, yes, once you have trained, conditioned, etc., the body to be able to do all these extraordinary things, whether you can manifest it under certain
It's
conditions,
yeah,
it's mental.
it's mental when you finally get to the point that you have the choice to do it. You've trained yourself. It's the same in the spiritual process. You've got all this knowledge. You can read all the books. You can go into the metaphysical schools, for instance, and find out all the intricacies of ascension and journey within and so on and so forth. And so you have all this knowledge. You've done all those things. And now you have a choice. What am I going to do with the knowledge? So if I built my body up to finally be a professional football player, now I have to make the choice to be it. And then I have to go act on it. And so in the spiritual journey, it's the same thing. You get all this knowledge, which is all the training and everything that you've done. You've been at the mystery schools, and the mystery school master says, okay, now go out in the world and see what you could do. And you're like, what are you talking about? He said, now you got to take it into your journey and find out how this works. You know, you've got to see the judgments you still hold. You got to see the ability to be able to heal. You have to see the ability to be able to feel energies at certain levels. To be able to see things that you couldn't see before and touch things that you couldn't touch before and so on and so forth. You have to act. And the choice then becomes the strength. And most people identify the choice with mental. And it's not mental, it's heart driven. It's like, now I have to trust, I have to feel within myself that I can do this. And so the choice becomes the will, it becomes the higher will. And you have like a personal will. You know, it's like, how did you win that game? It was, I can't believe you got up off the ground, you're able to do this. And I don't know, I just willed myself to do it. That's not getting mental. That's a true push from the heart and saying, I'm going to push through this. Well, this is what you have to do when you hit a wall in the spiritual journey, when you get a challenge. And it's a challenge you haven't had before. And all the knowledge that you have can't help you, because you've got to take it and put it into the challenge and see what happens with it. So you can see for yourself the experience of walking through it, instead of a definition or a story of how you might walk through it. You have to act, you have to feel, you have to experience, and that changes the whole thing. So in our ability to feel other beings, other energies, other voices, to see things differently, we have to build up our trust in our intuition, and put ourselves past a third dimensional way of being in the world, and allowing ourselves to open our hearts up to feelings that we've never had before, because we were so locked in to the program or the life strategy again that's been there. We can read about it all we want in the books, that, you know, Saint Germain did these things and Yeshua did those things and other masters did all these kind of things. And well, they're different than us. They're just at a whole different level. And each one of them would say to you, no, you can do more than me. Yeshua even said that. He said, I'm just showing you the way. You will do more than I do. And nobody wanted to pick up the mantle and say, well, no, we're a bunch of Jews that are no good. We can't. This is our epitaph. This is our journey. It's always going to be difficult. It's always going to be hard. It's never going to be like what he's saying. And so they throw in that energy of not good enough and hang on to it and don't trust in exactly what they have inside. There was a story, and it was in the Bible, of course, and he was teaching them, his disciples, for quite a long time, and showing them all the signs and wonders, as they said back in the day, all the supposed miracles he did and so on, right? And they were all present for all that, and they were all astounded by what he was able to do. And all he kept saying was, my Father and I are one. We're connected. That means the energies that are in the infinite abundance of consciousness are available to me, and they come to me, and I'm able to push them forward to do these different things and to, you know, actually shift the energies per se, to heal, to clear, to do whatever is there in the moment. And he said it's time for one. And one time he said, okay, they're all together having, say, dinner, at one of the local restaurants. And he's sitting there and he says, okay, I just want to let you know I'm going to send you out 2 by 2 to go do the same thing I do. Whoa, wait a minute, what? We're going to go out by ourselves and we're going to be able to do the things that you do? How's that possible? And so all of a sudden they're freaking out. They're like, wait a minute, we can't do that. We don't know that. He says, I give you the power to do that. So it wasn't necessarily that he was saying that I am the one to give you the power. He's saying, basically, he's letting the energy come through him to touch them, to be able to let them open up. And of course, they go out and do it, and they kind of use the oils that he used and so on, and little things that would help them trust that there's a possibility things might happen. And lo and behold, things started happening, and they actually were able to get a feeling of what it felt like to serve another human being that had issues physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, and see the results of releasing those energies and filling it in with, say, love. And they were able to go out and do more of it. But eventually they lost their ability because they didn't trust it. They doubted it. So all of that is what I'm saying is there's an energetic realm outside of us. There is a energetic field that holds everything. And if you're trusting enough, if you allow yourself to understand that, let's say the Father isn't saying that you should go out and heal everybody, but if you can get in touch with your intuitive guide, which is your Father, and it says, I want you to go be the CEO of a company so it gets run properly and it serves other people, then that's what you go do. And you go do it, and you're like, I don't even know how to be a CEO, but you go do it, and all of a sudden everything just falls into place because you trusted what the feeling was of what the voice said to go do. Now, I'm not going to say that's going to drop in your lap tonight to be a CEO of another company. I'm kind of being extreme here because it can be the littlest thing to the highest thing. It doesn't matter. Are you listening? Are you listening? And not only are you listening, but then do you act on what you listen to? And then do you feel what you listened to, what you acted upon? We talked about this process in a past podcast, that there's always awareness. Well, if there's awareness, it means I become aware of the fact that something is pushing me. Something's trying to get to me. Something wants to talk to me. I can feel something. Okay, become aware of that. Okay, the choice is, do I want to listen to it or not? Well, if you listen to it and all of a sudden the voice might actually say something inside of you to go do something. All I want you to do is take a right-hand turn here. Oh, that's kind of stupid. I'm just going to keep going straight. Okay, you just blew it. You had the opportunity to make the right-hand turn. It wasn't about making right-hand turn and all of a sudden there'd be a field of gold waiting for you. That's not what it was about. It was about, are you listening? Did you hear us? Because if you heard us in that, then we can come back to you again, and this time you might hear us better. And then you might hear us better again. And then you might hear us better again. So I'm going to say to you, that's how it starts. I listened for the first time 30 some years ago, and I haven't stopped since that point. And you know my life, Bill, and you can see all the things that have happened. And it's not like, oh my God, he's a millionaire or anything like that. The point is that, the journey became the journey, and the journey introduced me to an incredible amount of people, people to serve, people to co-create with, people to understand things with, because I was listening to where to go, listening to what to do, listening to what choices could be made, listening. All of that was about listening, and I never doubted. After a certain point, there were doubts in the beginning, but after a certain point, I never doubted. I even made the comment once to somebody, I said, they're never wrong. So something happened in one sense, and something didn't go the way I said it was supposed to go. And they said, I guess it was wrong in that point. And I laughed and I said, no, it wasn't wrong in that point. It was because I chose to do it differently. and it didn't turn out the way it was supposed to be.
I'd like to give an example from my life
Oh, please. Yes.
about intuitively making a decision that I think 99 out of 100 people would say was the wrong choice and crazy.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't even think about it. This is only how I can explain it now.
Hmm.
But there was a time when Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas, and he
Hmm.
was also the chairman of the National Governors Association. So he had a lot of leverage within the governmental groups. This is before he became president. And through some act of God or whatever, the educators, somebody got a hold of the idea somewhere down there in Arkansas about the idea of school restructuring. Well, it turns out that one of my graduate students was Bill Clinton's #1 advisor to all this stuff. And he got me invited to this conference that they were holding about school restructuring. And I got there, my plane was late. I had to fly overnight. The conference had started, da da da. And Spady, in the middle of the afternoon, walks in with his luggage. Okay, hadn't registered, didn't know what was going on, but was intensely committed to, I need to help shape this dialogue about school restructuring. And Bill Clinton is standing over on the other side of this conference hall with his entourage. And you could see him saying, who's this guy? And I could almost sense them say, well, it's Spady and blah, blah, blah. And he shouts across the thing, hey, Spady, come and have dinner with us. What would you do? Spady said, no, I can't. Because I've got to get in here and see what these people are saying. Oh, come on, come have dinner with us. I am convinced in retrospect that if I had had dinner with him, I could have reshaped American education because he became president and we would have had an in-depth dialogue about issues, et cetera. And one could say I would have blown his mind. But guess what? If I had said yes, and if that had unfolded, I would never be here doing this work.
Hmm.
I would
Yeah.
never have actually engaged in the spiritual path I've been on, had the experiences I've had, the revelations I've had. There would be no thing called spirit partners and lots of other things that I've done. I would have
Sure.
never met you, on and
Yeah.
on and on and on and on and on,
Yeah.
because of that decision. And some part inside of me, okay, the non-political, okay, leveraging the influence thing, said, no, I've got to get in here and do this.
Yeah. And we all have those moments that we can go back to see where we might have made the right decision because we had the feeling, or because we didn't
Yes,
make that decision, where
yes,
it went, and when we made a different decision and went a different direction. There's nothing right or wrong to any of it, but we can see the journeys that played out because of the choices that we made. And we come to a place, if we listen to that voice, it's not a voice that comes down overhead and says, Tomei, this is what you should do. You know, it's like, no, it's an
I've
inner.
actually had that voice a couple of times.
Oh,
That
well, that would
wasn't
be
it.
scary,
Yeah.
especially if you're in bed sleeping at night and it's dark and all of a sudden it comes in. Um, uh, but the point is that it's most of the time it's an internal feeling and sensation that does have
That's
words
right.
to
Yep.
it. And the more we listen to that, the more they know they can come in. That's the whole point. That's what I was saying before. It's like once you start and you did listen the first time, they'll come back again. And then if you listen that time, they come back. And then you don't listen and you go over here. They're like, oh, he got stuck here. So it's almost like they have to bide their time before they come back in again, and so on, because they don't want to harm you. Because everything in the upper levels is all bliss and non-dualistic in a way. I'm not going to get into the pure duality thing yet, but there is this sense of there is no judgment anymore. And so, but they do know that if they interfere too much, that could cause harm. And so they would never do something to cause harm. So they kind of already know that on their journey, and they want to make sure that they're not part of that. So there's always, it seems, an intuitive voice that comes in. And as it keeps coming in, that opens the door to more. And to be able to trust that is difficult. You know, Bill knows that I do channel energies. I do channel the group, as Bill has said in these podcasts. The name I call a lot of the individuals, if you will call them individuals, that I'm connected to. And so if you were to ask a channel how they do it, and they're usually very squeamish about it. It's almost like there is kind of like, I don't believe I do it, but I know I do. I don't believe I do it, but there's a video of me channeling, and I can't believe that it's all this information is coming through, and that's me. You can't deny it. And so there's this kind of place, even Cryan, if any of you have heard of Cryan before, even Cryan says the same thing. He's like, and it's not Cryan, it's Lee Carroll. And Lee's just like, I've gotten used to channeling all the time now, but in the beginning stages, the first like 10 years, it was really hard because you just can't believe that this is actually happening. And yet it is, because the information coming through is important. It can't be denied. There's verification with the information that comes through. And so all of that then leads to the fact that this information is correct, which means the energies that were coming through me were real. And so how it happens is sometimes a shock, but a lot of times it happens because you've opened your heart enough to allow the energies to come in. So it's almost like that's a priority in some case, is that there has to be some kind of shift within us internally, within our heart space, to be able to allow the energies to come in and trust them. Because there's the energies coming in, and then some people would say you got to be careful of those energies because maybe they're not really truthful energies. Maybe they're controlling energies and so on. And I understand what they're saying, because I'll throw out a big word here. This could be a little scary and a big word, but they're called black magicians. And black magicians know about using energies, but they use them to harm others and to be able to control things in society and in the world. They know what they're doing. They're conscious of the energies they can use. And there's very many of them. And so I would suggest to you, though, if your heart is open sufficiently, and what I mean by that is just, even if it's open 10% compared to what it was before, they can't touch you. They can't harm you. You're just having your heart open that much is way past anything that they could ever handle. So they're out there, though, and they have great followings, and there's tons of people that believe all the things they have to say and all the things they have to do, and they take them down a road of being controlled and so on. So all they're doing is they've just found the opposite. They found a way to use lower frequencies energies to be able to control and to manipulate and to harm. And all we know is at some point they're going to have to pay for that, and pay for it is not a judgment. It is just, as Yeshua said, whatever you give out, you get back. Simple rule. Whatever energies you push out and project out to the universe and to others, you will get back, and sometimes tenfold. So then it's up to each one of us as an individual soul to work on ourselves to make sure that when we are walking around, that we're doing the best we can to come from our hearts. And that's constant. That's not just, I'll do it every once in a while. It's like the words I speak right now, they're from my heart. The actions I take right now, they're from my heart. the thoughts I even think, are they from my heart? And so I got to be careful with myself on a daily basis, on a moment to moment basis, to be as present as I possibly can. If I'm present as I possibly can and my heart is working in that capacity, then there's other things that are here to support me. There's other energies and other beings and other voices that can come in and say, we're here to help you because you are being authentic. You are being heart driven. And so now we're going to come and assist you. And they might give you a name. In the beginning, I could feel these things and I'd ask, well, who are you? And they said, you'll find out soon enough. And so there was this like period of time where I could feel the energies coming and assisting me, but they didn't tell me who they were. And eventually I kind of found out on my own, just because I would maybe feel a purple energy, or I would feel a sense that was more from the heart than from a different vortex in my body. And it would line up with some of the, say, ascended masters or some of the archangels, or other beings that have been on the planet before, and from other star systems and so on and so forth. This gets really, it mushrooms out as you keep opening up more and more. So again, that's a lot. And I'm going to say it right to everybody again. You all have the same ability. There's nobody that has anything more than you. You all have the same ability. And why not use it? Why not allow yourselves to really find your heart and to grow into the authentic human being that you came here to be? And why not have assistance to do it? Why
I
not?
think there is a culturally based answer. We
There
have
always
been,
is, isn't there, Bill?
no, we have been so conditioned
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
to have beings like Yeshua on pedestal,
Yeah.
on the highest of
Yeah.
highest pedestals. Okay. That when we talk about unity of all things, well, that's not because it's up there on such a pedestal that it can't possibly touch or reach us or have significance in our lives. We have to pray to it
Yeah.
rather than talk to it or trust it or whatever. Because
Hmm.
when I had experiences without any detail that really suggested, oh my God, the incredible capacity within me to open up and connect with those things, I said, I mean, my own reaction was, I don't deserve it. Who am
Right.
I?
Yes.
Who am I to be connected? Okay.
Yeah.
These,
Yeah.
how would such a being want to pay any attention to
Yeah.
this spady guy, etc.?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's because we have mentally put them on pedestals.
Yes. Yeah.
And people
Yep.
who have psychic abilities can
Hmm.
routinely
Yeah.
talk to them and communicate with them
Yeah.
because they're carrying a different paradigm.
Yeah.
It is the energetic, vibrancy paradigm that they're carrying rather than the physical separation paradigm, I
Hmm.
think. All right.
Well, yeah, and they've grown in their psychic abilities. Some kids are born that way, of course, we know. Um, Very few, of course, but some are. And
Yes.
if they have the right parents and the parents allow them to enhance that ability, then they become some great seers, you might say. Um, but if the parents say, you're just being crazy, Johnny, just go out play baseball or something like that, then they get judged, and they don't want to continue having their special friend, is what usually they call them,
Yeah. Right.
to be with. Um, and yet we all have special friends to be with, and we just haven't asked our special friends to be with us. Um, one of the things that I think, I shouldn't say I think, but I know is really important in what we're talking about here, especially out there, because there are so many supposed psychics, and there's so many supposed channelers, and there's so many supposed people who are on YouTube now and giving people information and making money off them and so on and so forth. So um, I'm not judging any of them in this point. But one of the things that Yeshua said, um, and is really, really important, is when you pray, pray in your own house without anybody seeing you. When you are helping somebody, don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. In other words, do it within yourself. You don't need to send that message out to say, hey, look at me and what I'm doing for somebody else. When you are down and out and something happens to you and you're like, if there is something out there, please help me. Do you not think that the Father already knows what it is that you're looking for? Because the feeling you've just projected out into the universe, into the consciousness, has already been felt. And know that the answer
People
is
don't
coming.
people don't know that, however. They
Well,
think the reference group is the physical public or
yeah,
their close friends, etc. And they haven't established, I think, the connection or the trust
right.
that
And so what,
that
yeah,
the
and this is
connection
true.
can exist differently.
And this is true for most people. But what I'm suggesting today in this podcast is that it's not that you don't need them, because is not quite the word. It's nice to have friends that will supposedly give you some ideas of what to do, but remember where they're coming from. They're coming from their programs, and that's the ideas they're giving you. It doesn't mean their intent is to harm you, but the whole point is, what does your heart tell you to do? And instead of listening to what's outside of you, as far as anybody, even in your dynamic family, who is trying to tell you how to do things. What Yeshua tried to help people understand is that the Father, the universe, the consciousness, the divine intelligence already knows what it is you wish to have. It already knows. There is no reason to go about going to rituals and so on to deepen the process, because in the moment that you're feeling what you're feeling, it's already been taken care of. It's that instantaneous. And if you can listen to it, and the voice that comes will tell you what to do, and it might be, just be patient, it will happen, or wait till tomorrow, or tonight do this. It could be any number of things that can come, but if you listen and hear, then the direct understanding that you've been looking for in your prayer is coming right back to you instantaneously. I can't tell you how many times that's happened for me, and it's thousands of times. But it starts with one time. It starts with trusting it. It's finally time to stop listening to what's going on outside of you and start listening to what's going on inside of you. And if you can't do that, then search for somebody who you feel is authentic, isn't trying to control you, isn't trying to tell you this is the way, not that. If you can find somebody, will direct you to go deeper and deeper and to assist yourself to find your truth and your journey and how it's going to look, then you will be off and running. But you also have that within you yourself. It's a feeling, it's a sensation. We started this out like, how can you feel? How can you sense? Again, it comes back to the heart. And Bill, you know me, it always comes back to the heart. Always, that's the end
Yep.
result. It always comes back to the heart. It's opening the heart sufficiently to be able to hear it. Yeshua is waiting for you. He's waiting right across the veil. And you don't need to see him. If you just open up your arms in your most dire moment and just allow your heart to be open, he will come in a way that you will never, ever forget. the energetic feeling of being hugged by him is beyond anything I can't even put it into words. And all it takes is one time. But that one time takes courage. And that one time takes a lot of, listening, to say, I'll walk across just to get this feeling. And it's a sensation and a feeling you'll never forget. And once you have it, then you'll want more. And it doesn't mean you're going to go out and need more. It just means that you want to continue your journey to find other beings, if you will, that have the same comfort and the same welcoming. It just feels different. That's all I'm going to say. I've been with Mary. I've been his mother. I've been with Mary Magdalene. Kuan Yin. Archangel Michael's been in my side for a long time. There's a certain quality of energy, frequency, and it's so minutely different, just a hair different. I know exactly who's with me in this moment and who isn't. It's that uncanny. It's amazing. And I have grown in my own journey to trust it, to trust that that's what I'm feeling. And as we've done other work together, Bill, in certain capacities, you know that the feeling I have is pretty astute, because we brought you back from the situation you were in that one time.
That's right.
Without that feeling of knowing what my guides are telling me, and then seeing and feeling what you were doing at the time, that was instantaneous. It was like it happened
Right. I got it.
instantaneously. And because of that, we also provided a healing for you when you had your first stroke in the hospital.
Incredible.
And you asked for it. It wasn't that we gave it to you. You said, can we do this? You asked me on the phone, and I said, I'll be there tomorrow and we will do this. And we did. And all I performed was in openness. I allowed the energies to come through for you to be able to manifest in yourself. But as Yeshua said to some of the ones that he did heal, he said, your faith has cured you. You are healed because of your faith, not because some, who knows razzmatazz and sage and colors and crystals and all this stuff. It had nothing to do with it. It had to do with the trust in your heart and the faith you had in who you were and what was coming. That's what healed you.
Let me explain that I was hit by a snowboarder while skiing and fell down the mountain backwards and banged my head so hard. I had a helmet on, but so hard that I couldn't believe that I hadn't gone unconscious. And in about 12 hours later, the effects of that hit me, and a small stroke had ensued. And I had to be hospitalized, et cetera, et cetera. And Tomei came to me, and we somehow discussed the issue of healing. And I just was completely and totally open to it. Yes, it's like I had total confidence that what you were going to do was going to work.
And
I've attributed that to you.
Well, no, it's not.
Okay, but 3D Spady,
Yeah.
3D Spady attributed that to you. And you have since done a mid-course correction for me and helped me see that's not what was going on.
Yeah.
But within a week, all signs of the stroke were gone.
Yeah.
They didn't believe it, so they sent me to another rehab center for a week. And I was teaching the rehab people how to do ski moves, et cetera, on their ski machine. They had a ski balancing machine in the hospital. It's like, come on, people, let me out of here. Okay. That's how fast it worked.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was one of these things you could put it on the list of miracles in your life, but that's one of the things that happened. Absolutely tangible, absolutely for real.
Yeah. Yeah. And so all that was due to your faith, all that was due to your trust, um, and also the resulting aspects of it were gratitude. The gratitude came in being able to help others on the ski machine, or understand that there's more to this that I can start bringing into my body and into my understandings and into my uh, light body and so on. And you kept going, and so each one of us has that same capacity. As you know, through some of my accidents and stuff, they asked me to teach that, and so that was something that I was honored to do, and did share with others the processes and how to look at things and how to be with things and so on. But and that's all fine and well. It doesn't mean you teach healing. What you're teaching is people to go deeper into the faith and trust of what they have inside. That's really the teaching, if you will. The other stuff just comes along with it. Um, and so, boy, it's a profound faith. It's a profound trust. This isn't like, well, yeah, I got faith in God, that sort of thing. No, yeah, but He let me down here and He let me down there. Well, then you have a profound trust in God. You just trust when things turn out okay. That's
If I may add this and bring this session to a close here
sure.
with this experience,
Yeah.
let's just pretend that I don't know who I'm talking to.
Hmm.
I attribute it to my quote spirit partners, but it may in fact be to God,
Hmm.
who may be the biggest spirit partner of all
Hmm.
right? But it is that I have learned through these decades of work, okay, to trust, and I and the trust unfolds anywhere from that voice shouting at you, okay, which has happened 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
to the most subtle whisper you can imagine,
Yeah.
okay, to nothing but a silent feeling, which is what you're talking about, that it is just a sensing, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, something is going on here.
Yeah.
Something wants my attention. Something is opening up some capacity in me that isn't yet open. I mean, I can
Hmm.
feel those just waves of tingling. I mean, this happens in all kinds of different ways.
Yes.
My message to our audience is just be open to whatever might happen in this
Yeah.
regard. It isn't weird. You're not weird.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not wrong. You'll learn from it. You'll benefit
Yeah.
from it. And my word is going to be trust it.
Yeah.
Trust that it will work.
Yeah. Yeah. To feed off of what you just said, the most important thing I would say that you just said was to be open. Um, that's the journey of a master, to be open to all things without judgment. Once I'm open to all things, then I'm not surprised that all of a sudden this prayer has been answered and it's taken 2 years, but here it is all the same. I'm not surprised that just touching this person has given them a feeling of want and welcoming and comfort, and now they straighten up, their body instead of slouching, and they walk around differently from now on. Um, like you say, it can be the most dynamic of things of being able to assist and participate in the healing of a stroke, or it can be simply just smiling at somebody who most people would yell and scream at and say they're terrible and horrible people, but just smiling at them, and all of a sudden they find their heart because just somebody took the time to smile. This is being open to all things, not just what we consider okay. That's judgment then. So as we walk around as best we can ascend here our whole point, maybe that's a subject for another time, is ascension, to really understand the truth of that. When we bring down the energies from above, because that's the best way of kind of explaining it, but it's actually coming from everywhere. If we bring it down from above, and it's truth, and it's unique for each soul, it's an energy of balance, neutrality, non-judgment, gratitude, compassion, all the great qualities that a master might have is in their walk. When we bring that down here, we are bringing the veil here. We're bringing that energetic, dynamic dimension here, as opposed to saying, well, we have to go up there to ascend to it. Our whole purpose is to bring it here, is to change the world that we live in into a higher frequency world. The earth is doing it, and this is maybe another subject. We talked about the shift for a little bit. The magnetics of the planet is changed. It's changing dynamically as we speak. And because it's changing, we have to change, because the magnetics of the planet are geared into our brains and our bodies magnetically as well. If we do not, then we will not be in balance. That looks all kinds of different ways when we're not in balance. But when we raise our consciousness up to the level that the magnetics of the planet is going, we are assisting the earth and our humanity consciousness to shift to a higher frequency. That's why we're here, to do it here. We're not to ascend anymore. This isn't about going anywhere. So again, I invite people to find the trust they can find within themselves, open their hearts as much as they possibly can, and to start searching within themselves the feelings and the voices and the intuitions that are really waiting for them to explore.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you profoundly.
Yeah, of course.
Audience, this has been yet another rather extraordinary experience for me to hear the depth of Tomei's sharing. I hope you've gained from it as much as I have. And we'll see you next time, because whatever the topic is, it's going to be, as they say, a barn burner. So
Yeah.
we'll see you next time, and thank you.
Yeah.
Bye
See you
bye.
next time. Thanks.